find it wherever you see a Battle Kid 2 card, I think.
What I haven't looked up the times on this yet on what separates Rich and Spiriax.
I know it's under a minute. They're by far the fastest times of the game. I believe on the order of like a high 37, low 38.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's Rich is at 30. If these are updated, 37:54, and Spiriax is at 38:01. So.
Yeah, and keep in mind, those are deathless runs played on the unfair mode where you can't even save. And this is a one-hit, one-kill game. So it's very brutal. I'm pretty sure the guys are going to be playing on normal mode this time, which is still one-hit, one-kill, but you get infinite lives, and you just continue back at the checkpoint. So which of the streams are we going to be on here?
3 and 4.
Okay.
And I think I'm ready. Just gonna add the runners to the call here. Just a bit quick for the countdown. No, my. Yo, Spiriax.
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
Hey, Spiriax.
Yo. Okay, so I figured, oops, I can listen to the countdown. I'll mute my microphone.
Okay, I'm here. I'm just gonna mute as well and listen for the countdown, and I'll throw off my headset.
Yeah, once we start, I kick you both out. So
yeah, we start from the ship, or
whatever for you guys.
That's how we usually time it.
All
so
right.
we should
From the ship.
Okay. I'm gonna do something really quick.
So nobody's on 3. Is it 1 and 2?
3 and 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on 4th.
Rich.
Okay, I see.
RGB on 3.
Nice. It's a good-looking game too. So, for being a homebrew, we'll talk a little bit more about it later. But this is just a fantastic game. So get ready.
All right. Good luck, Spirix. I'm hopping. Well, I'm muting my mic, and yeah, see you on the other side.
Yeah. Good luck to you too.
Right,
I'll just make sure that I... Borde ju synas visst.
No, I think.
You are on 3rd, right? Because we don't really get any picture.
Yeah, I don't see anything on number 3.
I got 3 up, so. Oh, wait, 3 just got cut actually.
So it's either 1 or 2, I guess.
Okay, I'm back until we figure it out.
Oh, did you cut the stream?
Nope.
We're both visible on the stream, but I'm not getting you on the hitbox.
Yeah, me neither.
I thought it was profile.
I think.
Should I change to another?
Restart the stream. Just be quick.
Switch.
Okay, hit the reset.
Ja, annars så kör vi på den där. Det är ju lite bra.
Jag tänkte att du missade en detalj direkt.
Nej, det blir fördröjt lite grann. Switch 20.
Yes. Jo, det är ju ganska mycket för det. Men
Nej,
det är kul att se vart man är i förhållande till varandra också.
Jo, det är sant. Nej, men nu får vi köra på det där.
Still nothing from me, right?
Yeah, I haven't been able to see anything on 3 yet.
That's weird. All right, switch to... Because I think Toad was on it while...
Det här är inte...
Okay, give me
Toad.
the key for what I should have or use instead.
Inte jag var här. Fattar inte. Men det kan ju vara att det delay nu.
Han har varit på den där skärmen skitlänge, Robin. Det är ju syns och stream.
Okay, I should be live on 2nd now, I guess. And it...
I should still be on 4th.
Yeah, you're showing up. So.
Okay. I get it now.
Det så drar upp 2an då på.
För det här är väl en restream också. Då blir det ännu mer där.
Exakt.
This one is 2.
Yeah, my 2 is empty also. I don't think Hitbox likes you opening up multiple streams.
That's weird, because you had, like, I saw me before on the previous one, and then it just died or something.
No.
Oh wait, now I see it.
No, I see it too. That's great.
Oh, I see it. Hey, I'm not crazy.
That was weird.
Jag vill inte se dem.
Okay, let's get the show on the road.
Yes.
All right, now
I'll,
we're ready.
Chip.
Okay, I'm muting and yeah, see it.
All right, good luck, Battle Kids.
Thank you.
I am on the ship now, and I will mute my microphone right now. Remember to kick me out. Okay.
All right, Duckfist, ready when you are, and the runners, of course.
Oh, I am so
Yeah,
ready for
you're-
this.
Gonna let
Yeah.
you do the countdown.
I'm ready.
I'm going to do the countdown. Okay. Are they listening?
Yeah,
I guess they are. Let's go. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and we're off with Battle Kid, Fortress of Peril. This is a really well-made homebrew game for the NES. I think it was released in 2008 by Sivak Games. He's a NES developer. He wrote most of the game, his programming, I think, and I think he drew a lot of the stuff that you see here, and he designed all of the levels in the story as well. So it's quite a huge project for one guy, but as you can see, it's especially as given by the main character, it's very much inspired by I Wanna Be the Guy and that kind of style of fast-paced trial and error platforming. But I think it really executed that formula very well on the NES system. I think it's so well suited for this, and just the way that the game plays and feels, it's a really tight game. I mean, it feels kind of like Mega Man. You jump and you shoot, and there's a lot of mashing involved for boss fights. And basically, to get through the game, every part of the game is just getting through maybe like sequences of 10 or 12 different screens, and then you reach the next save point. And then it's all about just managing to get to the next save point. And a lot of the screens have very tight timings that take a long time to kind of get used to before you can make it through. It's really challenging, but it's a lot of fun. It plays very well. Everything is very well designed. It's got good difficulty progression, and it's almost somewhat of a Metroidvania style as well. Like you have this very large map to explore. There's a couple of areas where it's pretty clear where you have to go, just you advance from room to room. But in other cases, you can't really proceed in certain sections. You have to find the key, or you have to find power-ups that allow you to proceed. And it's also got kind of a Metroid aspect to it. You'll see here, after fighting this boss, keep an eye on the top right of the screen. Here we're at the first boss. A lot of the bosses are very trial and error. It's really difficult to try and beat the bosses. Like the first few times you play it usually takes several times here. You see Spiriax taking a death. They both did their first save point before this boss. So that was a good idea. Rich finishing the boss just fine, but it's a lot of jump and mashing on this thing. You can only have 3 bullets on the screen at once, so you want to jump and shoot 3 at the very peak of your jump while dodging all these spikes that the boss is shooting. Spiriax having a little bit of trouble here against the boss, dying a second time. But so, any deaths throughout the rest of the game, depending on where they're at, can cost between just a few seconds and like minutes at a time. So this will remain anybody's game for quite a while, all the way up to the very end, really. So Spiriax on his second attempt here. Professor Rich moving towards the first power-up that you get, which is the high jump. It lets you jump pretty much 1 extra tile high. You start off with a pretty low jump. You can only jump up to like 2 tiles. But this high jump, in the Metroid aspect, will let you kind of access the next area a little bit. And after defeating the first boss, you see the skulls in the top right. One has gotten X'd out. So you kind of have this, golden statue sort of thing, if you will, like from Metroid, where you can't proceed to the final area of the game until you have defeated the 6 primary bosses in the Fortress of Peril. And so we have Spiriax moving on to the bottom section. Little trouble getting past this snail guy here. These timings, even right off the bat, are very tight. Rich moving through this flamethrower section as he proceeds to the next zone. So again, this is a homebrew game. I believe it's only available to purchase off of RetroZone. Spiriax has some kind of a contract with them. There's also a sequel, Battle Kid 2. It's also very well made. I don't think I mentioned, hopefully you guys can hear some of the solid music on stream. This game has a great soundtrack. Spiriax actually did all of the soundtrack composition himself as well. I think a few of the tracks lent some themes from some other games, but the most of the composition and all the sound programming was pretty much done by Savak himself. So Rich moving on to the Sky Zone here. We see the tile set changed, the music changed, and we see these the Yoku blocks, the disappearing blocks from Mega Man making an appearance. So Savak had a lot of, as you couldn't tell, I mentioned so many franchises already, a lot of inspiration from a lot of different games. So you see some Mega Man action there. And one of the mechanics in the Sky Zone is these fans that you see appearing. You just kind of utilize those to move faster through some of the puzzles to be able to make it. A lot of the things in the game, like when you go through the first time, many of these rooms are very difficult, but once you've studied it for speedrunning, you find that, and just like in a lot of platformer speedruns, there's a lot of instances where you can just kind of hold right or hold left or proceed through the room in the same way like every time, and it just happens to work out. So in a lot of those cases, it's not too bad after you've practiced the game quite a bit. So now they're both working through the Sky Zone here. So one thing to watch out for is the last part of the Sky Zone. Once it goes to the space section, Rich is coming up on this section. A lot of these rooms are kind of a fixed timing as you wait for the disappearing blocks to appear. So if he has a death near the end of this section, it'll cost a very large chunk of time. So it's really important to stay on it. And even though there's no real way to speed up some of these sections, they're still really difficult. So it's almost not really speed running through this part. It's just staying alive. Because like I said, everything in the game is one hit kill. So there's spikes everywhere. Luckily, this boss isn't too tough, but these last couple of rooms can be kind of strict with their timing. Looks like Rich is through that last room with the fan is really scary. Moving on to the boss, Spiriax is finishing up section 2 of 3 in the Sky Zone area. See, most of the major zones are, I kind of refer to them as divided into sections, which is just kind of divided by the save points. So there's like 3 main sections in Sky Zone with save points in between. and 3 main sections and most of the other major zones outside of the kind of main fortress of the game. Second boss, I don't really know the official names of them. I just call them, I think it's Owlbot. I think that's the actual name, even though it's naturally what I might have called him. But he's a really easy boss. You just stand in one particular spot and you just pretty much jump and shoot. The easiest boss of the game. There's not a whole lot going on to it. But Rich finishing up Owlbot, no problem. Spiriax on the last screen, making it through the scary final screen of that last section with the fan. That timing is actually really tight because if you miss it, the fan will blow you into the spikes. And Rich is doing quite well. He's not really at the next zone yet. He's it's kind of this post Zone 2 section that he's making his way through, and this will take him all the way to the what is it? The feather. He gets the feather next, I believe. Oh, that was never mind. That was Key 1. Key 1 was the reward for defeating the second boss there. And now it's going to make their way underwater to the next section. Oh no! Spiriax had a death right after the boss, so that's really unfortunate. That's like there's only one threatening screen after the boss. There's like 2 screens to move through, and one screen has like a kind of tight jump. And Spiriax opted not to go back and save after defeating the boss. Usually we don't, because it's pretty trivial, but it's the one spot where you could potentially die. So that was really unfortunate, because there was going to be a save point in pretty much the next screen there. So that's going to set him back a little bit more. So here we have Rich backtracking through the first boss's area to access the underwater section, which was previously inaccessible without Key 1. So as you can see with the keys, you just shoot these blocks with the key number on it and makes your way through. And coming up to this underwater section, typical underwater physics in video games, you have slower acceleration or slower gravity, so you jump higher and you descend slower, which is kind of tough to deal with sometimes, because a lot of these enemy shots, like these clams and these squids, are really frustrating because you're kind of moving slowly, having to navigate some really precise shots. But making it through the underwater section to access Zone 3, which I think this is called the Colormancer Corridor. There's a lot of gimmicks coming up in this zone. And Spiriax is making his way past the post-Zone 2 maze after getting Key 1. Rich just in the introduction section of zone number 3. A couple of these little flame things. Actually, yeah, watching Rich's screen here, after the screen with is that what it's screen with UFOs? No, okay, it's after the screen with these turrets. There's this one blank screen where you could exit to the right, but he chose to exit upwards. That screen, if you exit right, it takes you to the Metroid Golden Statue style thing. So he'll be coming back. Both of the players will be coming back to that section after they defeat the 6 bosses to access the final area, and you'll see that Rich triggered this. He entered this one room and then exited real quickly. That was a warp zone. There's a couple of warps stationed throughout the whole Fortress of Peril, and just by entering it and exiting it, you kind of activate the warp zone. So now later on, when he finds another warp zone, he can go back to the previous ones that he unlocked. So that one's convenient because it's just like 2 screens away from accessing the final area. Okay, so Rich is probably concentrating very hard right now because one of the gimmicks in the Colormancer Corridor is this disappearing spikes section. A lot of these paths are kind of set. Most of them there's no way to speed up, but in some instances you barely have enough time to skip. You see Rich skipping one of these safe spots and going to the next. There's barely enough time to do that, and I don't know if you can hear it on screen, but there's these patterns in the room. They disappear and they reappear on a set interval, and there's actually like a clicking sound in the background that'll indicate when that happens. I think it's like every 4 clicks it'll disappear, and then 4 clicks and then it'll reappear. So you really have to get into like a rhythm. Even not speedrunning, just making it from safe zone to safe zone is really, really tight. We'll definitely see that at the end of the Colormancer Corridor when it goes to the final spike section. So Rich making it through the first section of Zone 3 here. 2 more to go. And here we have Spiriax entering the first section of Zone 3 as well. So, and another gimmick in this zone is these little mages I guess they're called the Colormancers. They're 3 different colored mages, and depending on their color, they have kind of different properties and how they attack you. Some of them just shoot straight forward, shoot like a blue shot forward. Some shoot this like sine wavy pink shot, and some of the ones later on, like this green one on Rich's screen that he just passed, just kind of summons the shot that appears from above. So as long as you're moving, you won't get hit. But again, I just want to remind everybody this is 1-hit kill, so any mistake means that you get killed and get sent back to the previous checkpoint. And primarily, just the worst thing is dying right before the next checkpoint. You just have to backtrack through all those screens again. It can be really frustrating. So Spiriax is about halfway through that spike section. In the first section of Zone 3. And Rich is in the last section of Zone 3, which is a real long spike section. There's like 6 screens of these spikes. And he did what I thought is the scariest jump right there. Not too bad. And each of these rooms with spikes, that sequence pattern kind of, some of them are slow, some rooms are really fast. The screen that Rich is in right now is one of the slow ones. But the last 2 screens are really scary because they are really, really fast. You really have to get into a rhythm if you want to make it through alive. It just requires some really intense concentration. And even introducing like kind of a little puzzle, you got to shoot these blocks here as well. And a lot of the strategy that both of these players are doing are really, really difficult. Like, we've had ways of going through these screens that are slightly slower, but these guys are pushing it to the limit and finding ways to just shave off a couple of frames by doing significantly more risky strategies. Like when I played it, there's like almost every room is now like slightly faster than when I did it by changing it like completely. Here we have Rich going through the fast spike section. This is the last screen of the zone. Notice how quickly it's appearing and disappearing. You really have to concentrate if you don't want to die, much less make it on one cycle like he's doing. Oh no! And we have Spiriax who was not able to jump up there and couldn't backtrack in time before the spikes reappeared. Luckily, that was early on, so he didn't really waste much time. That was the first disappearing spike room. So here we have Rich fighting the boss here. I think this boss's name is Cleo, boss number 3. So if you see the 6 different icons in the background, they're all colored differently. This boss basically can switch to any of the 6 colors. Each pattern, it'll switch to a different color, basically. And each of the 6 colors, you kind of have to react really, really fast. Like if you're playing this for the first time, you'll spend a lot of time on that boss because it pretty much forces you to learn what color corresponds to which pattern so you can prepare for it. Because as soon as the boss switches colors, it's attacking you with that pattern. And in a speedrun sense, a couple of the patterns are optimal, of course. There's a couple of them where the boss is just sitting there and you don't have to spend a lot of time dodging. You can just sit there and mash against the boss. I think that boss has like 48 HP. Like most of the bosses have between about 32 and 64 HP, 32, 64 shots to kill. I think that boss is kind of in the middle range there. So quite a bit of mashing. Like if you get the pink pattern, it's pretty much the best one. It shoots these 5 oscillating pink balls. And there's kind of a safe spot you can sit. And you don't really have to move to dodge 3 of the balls. And you can just sit there and mash really fast against the boss. So ideally, he does the pink pattern like right away. And you can kill him. You can kill him before he does, or before he goes to his 3rd pattern, ideally. So you can kill him within 2 patterns, and that's really nice. But some of the bad ones are like the red pattern or the purple pattern are kind of annoying. So Spiriax making it through very nicely, getting through that last spike section, a really stressful area. I'm sure he's really glad to be done with that. We'll see some more of the spikes later on. But for now, the players can kind of take a sigh of relief. Even though, so here's the pink pattern that Spiriax has. Notice that he gets to kind of just sit there and mash against the boss. That was really nice. Yellow pattern isn't too bad either. We can see Spiriax with a really nice kill, defeating him like halfway through the 2nd pattern. So that was very fast. It's especially nice because being the 2nd pattern, the boss is on the left side of the screen. So Spiriax can just exit immediately. And didn't mention it, but yeah, defeating the 3rd boss there gets you the feather. So it's kind of a unique mechanic. You don't really see this in. I don't think I've seen this sort of thing in other platformers. But you pretty much just hold up and you float, making kind of a slow descent, allowing you to cross some larger gaps that you previously couldn't. Particularly, it lets you go all the way through the underwater maze. Beforehand, the players only went through half the maze to access Zone 3, but the second half of the maze was blocked off by a kind of a long jump that you can now make with the feather. So most of the items are required to beat the game. There is one item that can be skipped. I'll mention it a little bit later, but as we see Spiriax still navigating the water section here, see there's a little timer at the top. Indeed, that's your oxygen, so if that timer runs to 0, you're dead. Luckily, there's a save point situated here. I believe in this water section that Spiriax is going through, there's an optional save point, and if you go fast, you don't actually have to do it. You can finish this whole section with like just a few seconds remaining. But looks like his that section with the balls was a little bit slower than he wanted to, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him go for the save here. Now Rich making his way through the, I think this is called the Flooded Spire. I only know what the names of these zones are by just guessing based on the name of the music, because I've listened to the music in this game quite a bit. It's so good. Music in Zone 4 is really good. Hopefully you guys can hear it. The Flooded Spire is when the game kind of starts to kick it up in difficulty, as if the disappearing spikes were difficult enough. A lot of the stuff in Zone 4 here are these moving spiked platforms that kind of trigger when you are aligned with their X or Y positions. You can tell which direction will move based on which side the spikes are on. So luckily in the speedrun sense, it's not too bad. There's some tricks you can do. Pretty much just to get through this whole thing, you want to trigger the spikes and then wait for them to slowly retract and use that time to pass by. So Rich having a pretty nice second section of Zone 4 there. Again, it's split up into 3 major sections divided by save points. I think that second one was the most difficult. This third one isn't too bad. Shoutouts to Toad. Those frogs are really annoying. Their hitboxes are really strange. Like you can have a consistent way. It seems that you can have a consistent way to go through it, but just sometimes it's just so tight and you'll get hit. And so Spiriax making his way through the first section of Zone 3 here as well, or Zone 4. Rich on the final screen. Looks pretty good. And he's getting the infinite oxygen power-up, so that'll allow him to access the next key item. Fighting, I can't remember this boss's name, it's something Naga, but this is a really tough boss as well. The hardest thing about this boss is just finding out when it's okay to actually jump and shoot him, because as soon as he's vulnerable, you see these oscillating like bubbles and shots coming up from the ground. There's a lot of stuff going on in this fight, and it's definitely not obvious how you're supposed to dodge them. It just takes a lot of trial and error, just kind of playing with jump timings before you kind of get the pattern down. Pretty much as soon as you understand the pattern for any of the bosses, you win. That's all the boss fights are all about, is just dying until you understand the pattern, and then it's no problem. And Spiriax just finishing up section 2 of 3 here. And Rich making the backtrack. There's only a couple of new screens in this backtrack out of Zone 4. Going underneath that frog, that's a really risky strategy. I wouldn't do that. These guys are pretty much crazy, so... Rich is just on fire right now, doing very well. He did have a little bit of a death, but it didn't cost him too much time. So see him navigating some of the newer rooms that we didn't see on our first ascent through Zone 4 here. And now he's out of Zone 4. Gonna make his way to this teleporter. This is our first use of the warp zones. And Spiriax finishing it up, fighting the boss now as well. And having gotten infinite oxygen, we're going to go back down into the water section. There was one fork in the water section that we kind of ignored. So later on, there is an item we're going to skip. It is the infinite oxygen, but for the first part of the game, we do get the infinite oxygen. It's kind of an annoying thing, the way that the game did this, but in order to access key number 2, there's this big underwater maze with pretty much no threats in it, but it's made intentionally very long so that you don't have enough oxygen to go through it. And we see Rich entering the section here. There's like 2 rooms with spikes in it that are actually a threat, and the rest is just navigating these long corridors. I think it takes like a minute and a half to get through this thing. or over a minute and a half, I guess, because you've got 90 seconds on your clock. I think a lot of people, including me, when first playing the game, tried to explore this section because there's like a save point pretty close by where you can refill your oxygen, just to try it out and to see how far it's going to go. And then you realize as you're going along, like, wait, the developer intentionally made these long corridors. And yeah, you just don't have enough time to go through it. I wish there was a way to do it, but unfortunately, this is kind of stuck in the speedrun route. This is kind of a spot to take a break. After the last set of spikes, going through these last like 5 rooms, you don't really have to concentrate much. You just kind of go through, take a break, think about what's coming up. And it kind of serves as like the halfway mark of the game as well. So they're a little over halfway through it now. And so Spiriax making his way into the underwater section to go into the maze as well. And so this screen Rich is on, like about as soon as you come into the screen is the point where you die if you don't have the infinite oxygen tank. And we see there, key 2. Puts you right back at the beginning of the maze, and this will let you access Area 5. This is like the deeper underwater section that he's going to. And Spiriax just now starting the maze. So Spiriax has definitely picked it up. He's shaken off a little bit of that early game nervousness I think he was feeling. And Rich still playing very steadily. But we have some really hard sections of the game coming up, so I'd still say it's anybody's game. Just 1 or 2 deaths in the wrong spots can change this around, no problem. And Rich taking out those key 2 blocks, making his way to the underwater zone. Zone 5 here. Again, it's separated out into 3 sections. And almost every one of these rooms is kind of built around understanding water physics. These fish are really annoying too, like the sine wavy fish. Luckily, there's a lot of consistent ways through it, but if you're trying to improvise, it'd be kind of hard to react, just because of how quickly they move. And these little spike shooting puffers, it's really important that you're standing in the right spot relative to them when they shoot, because they could abruptly kind of change directions and shoot downward or something and completely mess up your strategy. But fortunately, a lot of the rooms here, if you just kind of hold right and jump at the right times, it just kind of always works out and you don't really have to think about it. I'd say the underwater section is not too tough, but okay. Then again, these guys are making it tough because they've optimized the heck out of it. And it's really impressive to see pretty much the 2 best players of this game, destroying it. Rich on the final section of Zone 3 here. Moving into this kind of, moving to this, like, I guess, pink flooded base sort of thing. It's not necessarily underwater anymore. It's this, I guess, some kind of a base. And that's where the next boss lies, and the next power-up. Not just a key, an actual movement-based power-up, so the gameplay will actually start to change here a little bit. And these large fish are really annoying. Just their patterns kind of suck, and they take like 10 shots to kill, so it's really not feasible to kill them. And Rich on this final screen here, and Spiriax entering section 1. We'll see Rich fighting the, I think it's called the seahorse turrets. So this is a very RNG boss. The very first pattern, when they all shoot for the first time, their shot order is set. Every other shot order after that is randomized. Which turret shoots first, basically. And each time you destroy a turret, the remaining turrets, their bullets will travel faster. So like if there's only 1 turret remaining, it shoots very fast. So since there's really not a whole lot going on in the fight, like if one turret shoots first, then you can go right up to that turret and just mash in front of it, because it's not going to shoot until the remaining turrets finish their shots. So you kind of have to keep that in mind as you go throughout the fight, but since they all shoot towards your position, and the order that they shoot in is kind of random, after the very first shot pattern, It can be really risky. Like you can play it risky and just run up to one of the turrets and hope he like shoots last and just kind of mash in his face. But since we're like, I don't know, what are we, like 25 minutes or 30 minutes into the run now? If you're playing, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to go for like a world record, it's deathless. If you're trying for a deathless, then taking a risk like that, that can be really, really dangerous to try and approach that boss risky. So Rich is now backtracking through this whole section, but it's kind of interesting because after defeating the boss, he got the double jump power-up. Now we have all 4 of the major power-ups of the game. Pretty much as it sounds, you just get a second jump in midair. But it's kind of cool because the game just, in some of the previous zones, after defeating the boss, you usually go through 1 or 2 more like unique screens rather than simply backtracking through the whole thing. But in Zone 5, you have to backtrack through the whole thing. But it's interesting because you now have double jump, so the strategy in every room is now completely different. Of course, you get to skip the first section. There's a nice little shortcut. But sections 2 and 3 you have to redo in its entirety. Here we have Spear Axe taking on the Seahorse turrets. He had a death back there, but it wasn't too bad. And seems to be taking this pretty nicely, no problem. He's going to get that double jump and make his way back. And so Rich here is making his way to Zone 6. Notice that he required double jump. It was just a few screens ago. It required double jump to actually jump up through that little platform. It was like, that room was like right after the entrance to Zone 5. It's like right next to it. So this is where the Metroidvania style of this game kind of comes in. Like we had a big blind race of this, and a lot of people when they play it for the first time after defeating the 5th zone will like go throughout the entire map trying to figure out where to use the double jump to go to the next area. I think one classic example we give them a hard time for it was TMR. The Mexican runner was in our blind race, and we were watching him go through it, and he went through the entire map looking for this thing, and it sucks because it's like right next to the zone you just came out of. So if you choose to go like right instead of up, you're just not going to find it until you come all the way back. Yeah, so Zone 6, I think it's the Amethyst Caverns, is all about double jump puzzles. We're no longer underwater either, so this is all very much double jump oriented to get around these things. Just a lot of instances where you have to kind of float slowly and integrate that with double jump. The game's platforming has evolved quite a bit by this point, where you started off with no floating, no double jump, and kind of a low jump. Now you have to navigate these very large rooms like without touching the ground, so it's kind of interesting. And all right, let's see. So Spear Axe is finishing up his backtracking, about to enter Zone 6 now. Rich, having acquired Key 3, making his way to the boss. Key 3 was the item to get in Zone 6. You see some of these floating and double jump puzzles kind of integrated here in these last screens. Zone 6 isn't that difficult, actually. I'd say it's even easier than Zone 5 and definitely easier than Zone 4. But this boss is not too bad. It's got 4 different patterns that it can do. 2 of the patterns it does only when it's on the ground, and the other 2 patterns it only does when it's in the air. And it is random which of the 2 it is, but at least you can kind of prepare for them based on whether or not he spawns on the ground or in the air. Like, if you want him to be on the ground, because you can just kind of get next to him. His hitbox is kind of floating off the ground, so you do have to jump and hit him. But if you combine the floating with having a double jump, you can get quite a bit of mashing before you have to land and jump again. So, I don't know, I'd say like 3 or 4 cycles is probably ideal. But Rich not having any troubles there. And those Key 3 blocks take you right back to the entrance. And now that, see in the top right, we have all 6 skulls X'd out. So now the players are going to make their way to the nearest warp zone, warp all the way to, I think it's warp number 4, 3, something like that. That's right in front of the so-called Metroid Golden Statue that takes you to the final zone. So 2 to 4. Yeah, it's 4 here. So if you look on Rich's screen, we see the 5 boss portraits appearing in the background, each one opening one of these gates. This is kind of dumb. If you touch these gates, you die. So you don't want to be sitting like right in front of it and press right too early and die. It would just be really silly. So this final zone here, this final zone, okay, it's actually 2 zones, but it's all pretty linear. So the first zone is definitely linear. It's just 3 sections, kind of combining everything that you've learned so far with all the enemies and all the obstacles that you've encountered so far. And then the second zone is where things start to get interesting. But Rich having a little death right there. Only a few screens in, not a big deal, but Spirax is definitely going to need Rich to make some more mistakes, I think. Rich is really consistent at this game, especially the final part. Yeah, I'd say Zone 1 of the final section is not too tough, but there is a return of the annoying disappearing spikes at the very end of the zone that Rich is in. And it's a particularly annoying section, especially if you're playing the game for the first time. So previously, when we encountered the disappearing spikes in Zone 3, the disappearing spike rooms were at the end of the section, right before the save point. So if you made it through the spikes, you can save, and you're good. But here, it's kind of annoying, like, when you first play it, because there's like 3 or 4 of these spike rooms, and then there's like 4 more rooms with some really, like, trolly positioning of enemies. So you make it through the stressful spike rooms, and then you just get killed by these enemies. And then you have to go do them all over again. So it's really important after navigating the spike rooms that the players are really careful to make it through the last couple of rooms without getting hit. And Spiriax entering the final zones. And once you go into the teleporter, you can't go back. You can't go back to the Fortress of Peril. You're locked into the final area of the game. So we see on Rich's screen, the nightmare screen, really fast cycles of the disappearing spikes. You got to really get into the rhythm of this. Tell you, me and Rich played this we raced it at AGDQ. And in front of like an audience, like right next to each other, having to listen for these audio cues and just like tensely stare at the screen. It was a really stressful section to do. But yeah, you see Rich navigating these last couple of rooms after the spikes. Rich does not want to die here. Last room, and he's in there. Okay, now he's on to the last section of that zone here. Just some an underwater throwback. It's not too tough. The very last room of this section is kind of annoying though. And here we've got Spiriax navigating the spike rooms as well. Not too far behind, but kind of at the mercy of the sort of an auto-scroller, if you will. You can't really speed it up that much. There's like 1 or 2 safe spots you can skip with really precise movement, but so Rich is on this final screen here. Okay, good. So those little orbs that he was shooting, you have to shoot each orb 3 times, and then once it explodes, it fires bullets, so you want to have your double jump ready and get out of the way. If you use your double jump too early, then you can't dodge it. If you use it like too late, then you're going to fall into the spikes. So it's really precise timing. It's being the last screen, you don't want to go all the way back to the save point. So here we have Rich. So what happened after finishing that previous zone, Rich is now on the final zone of the game. All of your items get taken away at the very end. So this zone here is all about recollecting your items. So it's kind of challenging you, not only with having a full inventory, but it's challenging you with not having certain items as well, and you have to kind of reclaim them. Just in small little puzzles. The items are pretty easily accessible, but particularly what Rich is doing right now, you'll see there's a timer on the screen as he's navigating underwater. The intended route is to get the infinite oxygen first, so that you're actually able to go through the section that Rich is currently in to get the high jump. But luckily, in a speed run, if you're just really fast, you don't have to get the infinite oxygen. And Rich is kind of in the clear now. I didn't mention it, but there was one particular screen that's necessary to navigate fast in order to actually do this without getting infinite oxygen. And Rich did it very nicely. He'll probably have like 10 seconds left or so on the timer when he gets back to the air pocket. But it's a really annoying screen to do because it's like these disappearing Yoku blocks, and the ceiling is 1 tile above you. And you have to jump at just the right times, even though you bonk your head like 2 pixels up. That's necessary in order to make it across the blocks. And doing that, those little skips there is pretty much the only way to go through without getting infinite oxygen. But now that he has high jump, no more water sections, so oxygen is not a big deal. So he's making his way to a double jump, I believe. And what's kind of interesting is that even though you're recollecting the power-ups you already had, the game gives them to you in a different order. So now you have high jump and double jump without feather, whereas previously the main fortress of the game. Ooh, we have Spiriax taking a death on that really annoying Yoku block jump section I was talking about. It's the infinite oxygen skip. That's pretty much the only place you're going to die in this section, unfortunately. But yeah, as I was saying, it's I always thought this kind of item recollection was kind of interesting because you have the double jump without having the feather. So all of these double jump puzzles in this section are featherless. And kind of a theme in this final zone here is after you recollect each of these items, you kind of backtrack through the section with the item, changing the strategy of the section up like a little bit, which I thought was kind of interesting. So this is Rich's final section. Just this backtrack through, and then it's on to the final 2 bosses of the game. Spiriax got the high jump, making his way back to the dangerous Yoku blocks. Let's see if he gets it. Okay, he got it. All right, he's back in it. That's very nice. Rich falling towards the first of the final 2 bosses. I think this guy's name is Zed? Something like that. Alien, I call him Alien. Oh, he dies right away. There's a couple of ideal patterns that you can get. This is kind of similar to the Colormancer boss, but there's no... The indication of which pattern is a little bit more subtle. Ooh, Rich taking a second death here. He's crumbling under pressure. Spiriax, you've got this, man. You can bring it back. But yeah, ideally on this boss, there's a couple of patterns that he can give you where you could just kind of sit there and mash in his face for a little while. And this is a pretty nice pattern that he's given Rich. And this pattern where he disappears and reappears repeatedly is also pretty nice. And you see that he freezes time on occasion on a few of these patterns. So as soon as you see him kind of raise his hand and start to flash, you've got about like 1 or 2 seconds before he freezes everything. And there's just a couple of safe spots when he does it. But Rich nicely taking out the alien. Moving on to the Super Mech, final boss. This is another just heavily like RNG pattern-based boss where he has like 6 different patterns he can go through, and there's like a subtle indication of which pattern each one of them is. And of course, there's a couple of ideal patterns where you can deal a lot of damage. One pattern that both of these guys are really good at that I never got good at was this missile pattern, which is normally really annoying because the missiles, let's see if he even does it, the missiles will block your shots, making it hard to get in extra shots, but these guys have practiced a lot and they've got ways to continuously deal damage. The best pattern is when he does the orange balls. As he does those, you can jump up and get several shots in during just a single cycle. I believe this boss has 64 HP, so he's only vulnerable up there in his like face shield. Rich is on pretty good pace here, not too bad. You see that like upper platform? It might be tempting to stand on it, but it's pretty much a death trap. It's not recommended, only to like dodge a certain attack. But Rich taking out the final boss, very nice. Spiriax doing a little bit better here on the alien. Not having much trouble at all. Saving him a little bit of time here. Yeah, that was a good fight by Spiriax on the alien. And he's moving on to the Super Mech as well. I'd say they're about a minute apart, so not too bad for a game where you die instantly pretty much everywhere. And time is coming up for Rich. It's as soon as he enters this last screen. It's hard to, the cue's weird. Now, time for Rich. Sorry. The cue doesn't make any sense, so I couldn't describe it. Okay. And Spiriax fighting the Super Mech. We have Spiriax going for a ridiculous strategy. You know how I just said it's pretty much suicide to stand on top of that platform up there? You can kind of see why. But I have seen these players mess with some strategies involving just standing up there and shooting. Because I guess what's nice is that you don't have to fall all the way back down to the ground to start shooting the boss again. So this is completely different than what we saw Rich do. This is crazy here. I haven't seen a successful execution of that strategy yet. So Spiriax just kicking ass here. Let's see if he can finish the boss. The boss is almost dead. Okay, good laser pattern here. And he did it. Wow, that was a really fast super mech kill. Well done. Well done by Spearax. Well done by both runners. That was incredible. Very nice race from both of these guys. And we've got like 30 seconds or so until time for Spearax. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed Battle Kid. That was a really nice race. Follow both of these runners, twitch.tv/infestedrich with an E at the end. Riche, I think there was an argument about this pronunciation. And then twitch.tv/Spiriax, Spiriax. He ran Secret Ties earlier. He also runs Battle Kid 2. He's incredibly talented at Battle Kid 2 as well. And time for Spiriax now. All right. Dude, I just talked for like 45 minutes straight.
Good job, Duckfist.
Commentary, Duckfist.
That was fun, man. Yeah, follow.
And it's
guys.
a non-stop game too,
Yeah.
so that's great commentary.
Totally.
Both runners were fantastic. Congratulations to Rich.
Yeah, follow those guys, and if you like Mega Man or I Want to Be the Guy, or just hard platformers, or just NES games, which is inherently hard, check out Battle Kid. Battle Kid 1 and 2 are fantastic. I find myself just like listening to the music and not even playing it like as much anymore. Just the music is so good, and it's really fun to watch. Battle Kid 2 is at least as good. So, yep, good stuff, folks. What do we got coming up next here?
We got Ninja Crusaders